Hey, and welcome back to Beyond 50. Today, I thought we'd go for a little ride, and I'd tell you about my experience owning this vehicle for the last year and do a little review on the Ford F-150 Lightning electric vehicle and why I bought it, how I feel about it after a year and 16,000 miles. So let's get into it. This is the 2023 F-150 Lightning in the XLT trim. As a result, I don't have Blue Cruise, so I'm not going to be talking about the self-driving. While I have onboard power, I don't have the Pro Power upgrade that provides 240 volt electrical, and we'll get into a little bit more of that in a little bit. Why did I purchase this vehicle? What was my decision making, and what sort of drove me to that? I'd been driving my previous truck, which was a 2009 Ram 1500. I'd been driving that since about 2011. About a year ago, it broke down. The transmission went out on it. It was going to cost around 10 grand to get it repaired. That was about the value of the truck. It didn't seem worthwhile to do a repair on something that was basically going to put it back to the cost that it was originally. Or the main consideration I had was something that was going to be good for commuting. I, at the time, was driving 60 miles a day back and forth to Seattle. I wanted something that was going to be efficient for commuting. I still have my Jeep. It is not a great commuter vehicle. It's not comfortable. I have driven that as a commute. It's loud, especially with the mud tires on it. And while I love driving the Jeep, it's not great for commute. It's loud, it's uncomfortable, particularly in the winter. It's a little cold. I need to do a little work on that heater core. So I wanted something that was going to be efficient and convenient for commuting. I also wanted something that I could do truck stuff with. I do a lot of stuff around the house. I need to be able to haul lumber and move things around, run up to the dump to throw things away, and I need to be able to pull the boat. I was initially looking at some used Raptors and other traditional combustion engine vehicles. And as I was looking, I saw this, and I thought, if I was driving this as a commuter vehicle, I wouldn't be spending nearly as much money on gas because of the electrical aspect. And at the time, I had free charging at work, so that really helped me push over my decision making of this might be a viable vehicle for me to try out. So we test drove it, and it drove great, and it was fun to drive. It was at least as fun to drive as the Raptors from an acceleration and quickness aspect. Also, as a commuter vehicle, it's very quiet, it's very smooth, and it has great acceleration. So merging into traffic and all of those sorts of things that you're doing, you have a lot of confidence when you're driving it that it's going to just function really well for that. So primarily bought it as a commuter vehicle. I think in that aspect, this is, and I would assume for all other electrical vehicles, a great choice as a commuter vehicle. I will say, why do you need a truck for a commuter vehicle? Look, I don't need a truck for a commuter vehicle, but this also serves the purpose of all of those other functions that I use it for doing truck stuff. And look, it's a large form factor, and I am a large form factor person. So sitting in here is a lot more comfortable for me than sitting in, or even just getting in and out of a small car, a commuter car, or a mid-size SUV. And so, it works for me better. As a commuter vehicle, this has been absolutely outstanding. I really don't miss stopping at the gas station every day. Being able to just plug it in daily when I park, charging it overnight has completely changed the way I think about maintaining a car. Speaking of maintenance has been the other thing that has been outstanding on this. And again, that wasn't really part of my decision-making process, but having this car, this vehicle, this truck for a year and 16,000 miles, it should have gone through 3 oil changes if this was a standard combustion vehicle. I haven't done anything. I have had 0 maintenance that I've had to do on this. I think I put windshield wiper fluid in it. That's it. So from a convenience standpoint, there's the factor of you don't have to stop for gas once a week or twice a week, depending on how far you're driving. but you also don't have to do those other maintenance tasks. There's no regular oil change. I don't have to worry about when I need to get the transmission serviced. I don't need to worry about getting the radiator flushed. There's just so many other little things when you're driving a regular conventional combustion engine that require maintenance to ensure that the vehicle is working properly and has a good lifespan, that you just don't have to worry about with this. It's, don't charge the battery to 100% every day is really the maintenance that you have on it. And then obviously tires and eventually brakes. But, it just eliminates a whole lot out of it. But what about those longer trips? What about road tripping and something like this, and what's my experience with that? I haven't been on a really long trip. I haven't been on something that's sort of like a cross-country multi-day type thing. Sort of multi-day. We've got family. I live near Seattle, and we've got family near Vancouver, BC. Both my kids are in the Portland area, and so I've taken multiple trips from Seattle to BC or from Seattle to Portland. Both of those trips are roughly 200 miles each direction, and so that sort of does require some, on the road charging and finding a place to charge and going through that. And I will say, compared to a standard combustion vehicle, it's a little less convenient. There is a little bit of range anxiety that happens. I haven't had any problems, and it does require a little bit more forethought and thinking about and planning on, all right, I can get to, I've got this much of a charge, we can get this many miles, where's a charging station in this area that we could charge? You don't want to just wait till you're near empty and then think you're just going to pull over at the next exit like you could do in almost any other vehicle. You do have to sort of plan it out. That said, with a little bit of forethought, a little bit of thinking, it works very well. Also, the infotainment system, either the default one from Ford or the Android Auto, and I haven't used the Apple CarPlay, but Android Auto, Android Maps, or the Ford Maps, both of them will, if you put in, hey, here's my destination, they will map you to like, all right, cool, you're gonna have to stop here and charge for 30 minutes to make it to your destination. So you don't have to think about that. You can let the computer do it for you. It does require that little bit of extra work. It also does take a little bit longer. Even at a fast charger, you're waiting 30 to 40 minutes to fill this thing all the way up. That is more time than the 5 to 10 minutes that it would take to fill up at a gas station. For me, it feels like an okay balance because 99% of the time that I'm driving this, I'm not going on a long road trip on that. And I'm eliminating my weekly stops at the gas station of 5 to 10 minutes in favor of, hey, when I do a long trip, I need to take a little bit longer. I think the overall net benefit, I'm saving time, but on those long road trips where, hey, you do want to get where you're going, it does take a little bit more time to charge this. I think it'd be a little less impactful if I had the extended range version, but the upgrade cost for that was more than I wanted to pay for something that I was only going to use, less than once a month. And so, it's that balance of deciding, hey, do I want to pay another almost $10,000 for this, greater range and that convenience? How many times a year am I using it? If you're somebody that's driving this vehicle and you are going to be driving more than 200 miles a day, I would say more frequently than once a month, then maybe that additional range would be worthwhile. But for me, this has worked out great. The other thing I will say, particularly on road trips, the complimentary Tesla adapter that was provided by Ford has been a game changer for on-the-road charging. In fact, I really didn't do many road trips before I had the charger. I feel a lot more comfortable knowing that I can use the Tesla network for charging this because there's so many more, it opens up so many more charging locations. I've found that the Tesla charging stations are, one, there's more chargers available at them. Two, they are more reliable. When I go to Electrify America, while they usually work, I have had a couple instances where, hey, this Electrify America charger just does not want to work. And so, you know, you plug it in, you unplug it, you unplug it in, you unplug it. Most of the time I've used them, they've just worked. But occasionally, there's one that we were using in Vancouver, Washington, that I plugged it in and it didn't work. I loaned my daughter the truck a couple weeks later, and because it was near, she had some car problems, and the same one didn't work for her. So it was like a week or two later, and the exact same station didn't work for her. Both of us were able to move to a different charger at the same location, and it was able to work. But there is that little bit of reliability issue. And I've been to other places where, hey, sorry, our chargers are just offline from other companies that I've seen. And I haven't seen that at all with Tesla. Also, usually if you go to an Electrify America charging station at a Walmart or a Target, there are 2 to 4 chargers usually. Maybe there'll be 6, but it's sort of that handful of chargers that are available. If you pull up to a Tesla charging station, there's 10 to 15 available, or 20. There's just a lot more chargers available. Now, the downside to the Tesla charging stations with this vehicle, when you pull up to a Tesla station, every car is backed in because their charging port is on the back and it's on the driver's side. And so the Tesla charging stations are set up in a way that is optimized for a charging port in that location. This vehicle, the charging port is also on the driver's side, but on the front, right in front of the driver's side door. And that means A, I'm pulling in forward, and B, it's on the wrong side. And so if I pull in, I basically end up taking up the spot that I'm going to take, but I'm really using the cord that is assumed to be used for the charging station next to it. And so I'm effectively taking up 2 charging stations. So what I prefer to do is pull into a spot that is not intended to be assigned for charging a vehicle, and then use the cord there. So I'm only using 1 charger as opposed to blocking 2 chargers. But that's not always available. So literally yesterday, we were driving back from Vancouver, Washington. I pulled up to, there's a Target that had an Electrify America charging station at it. There were 4 chargers there. When I pulled in, all 4 of them were currently being used. I didn't actually know that there was a Tesla charging station nearby, but as I was like sitting there going like, hey, I wonder where the next closest charging station is, and should I go there? It was literally the other side of the parking lot in the same Target in Kelso, Washington, and there were 12 chargers there in the Tesla station, and I thought, hey, well, let me just drive by and see if there's one available that I can use. As I was pulling in, all the ones that were on the end were already filled up with cars that were charging in it. There was a Rivian that was parked in one spot that was already blocking 2, which also kind of meant that, like, hey, if I pulled into the third one next to him, between the 2 of us, we'd be blocking 3 stations instead of 4 each. It might take a little more time to describe how that worked exactly than I care to put in this video, but I was able to pull in and use that charging station. Tesla charging stations tend to have very short cords because they're optimized for, you know, hey, they were designed for using with Tesla. Now that they've expanded to support Ford and I assume and other vehicles, obviously Rivian, it's just not really optimized for that, the mechanics of these vehicles. I've heard that Tesla is on their newer stations is using longer cords and changing their layout a little bit, but for the existing stations, it doesn't quite work optimally. But having all of these additional charging stations available when I'm driving has been huge. So yesterday, you know, with the 4 Electrify America chargers that were already consumed, I would have been waiting. I don't know how long I would have been waiting until those other cars pulled out and finished their charge. And so maybe 30 minutes, an additional 30 minutes on top of the 30 minutes to charge my vehicle. Being able to just drive across the parking lot and charge the Tesla station was great. And so I think that's really helped out with this. You can't charge at every Tesla station though. I think it's only the Gen 2 and 3, and so the Gen 1 superchargers are not available. And when I you know, use the Tesla app to find, hey, which charging stations can I use? It is configured with my truck, and so it knows which ones I can and can't use. I should have grabbed some footage yesterday charging, because I don't want to drive to the nearest station that I can charge at from here, because it's actually quite a ways away. Which is why before I got the charging station installed at my house, when I was having to charge outside of my commute and I was having to charge someplace local, I was using a Walmart, an Electrify America at a Walmart. I did have one of those chargers not work once at that location, and it was also just not a great experience. What I found in some of the Electrify America's locations, they put the chargers towards the front of the store. Not always. Some of them they put it way out in the parking lot. But I think maybe the intent of either the store or Electrify America is, oh, hey, we'll give you these great convenient parking spots where you can charge your electric vehicle. That's not really what I want. I would rather walk across the parking lot. I got plenty of time. My car's going to be charging for 30 minutes. Than deal with the traffic congestion that tends to happen at the front of the store, and the occasional person who's just like, oh, you know what, I'm going to park in the spot because it's conveniently located by the front of the store and I'm not charging a vehicle. So I've seen that also at the Electrify America stations. And when you've only got 2 or 4 charging stations available and there's a car parked in one of them not doing anything, it's a little infuriating. Getting back on track, I went a little bit longer than I wanted to on the road trip aspect of this. Road trip aspect, it's not as great as it is for commuting. As a commuter vehicle, this is amazing. As a road trip vehicle, it's good, but it's not quite as amazing. I will say though, this drives amazing on the highway. Going 70, 80 miles an hour, because that's the highway speed. You know, the highway speeds out here is 70 miles an hour. So you're easily going 75 and not being out of control. And it's just very, very smooth ride. And just drives really well on the highway. Ooh, I'm almost in the Frunk. The Frunk is huge. I don't know that I would fit in the Frunk comfortably. Don't put people in your Frunk. But it is large, it is spacious. There are 3 different options to open the Frunk. You can either use the key fob, double click that guy twice. There's this button right here. And then there is also the button to push inside the cab, which will open it. So whichever of those happens to be most convenient, I use all 3 regularly. The Frunk itself is pretty spacious and has extra storage underneath. I keep some ratchet straps in here as well as an additional charger. This can also apparently be used as a cooler and has a drain built into it as your ice melts. I've never done that. And if you want, you could put the lid in as a divider. Apparently, I've never done it. Doesn't seem to work. You can put the lid in as a divider and put some stuff in here like this, and you could divide things, I guess, if you really wanted to. There's also access here to the 12-volt battery. Let's just put that lid right back on there nice. This comes right out. If you're gonna jump start a car, there are some jump points right here under this panel. You're supposed to do that as opposed to pulling that guy off. I actually, the one time I jumped a car, I pulled that panel off and did it that way. My windshield wiper fluid, which is completely full. So if we pull this panel off, which just has a bunch of little screws on it, hand take off, we are not 100% maintenance free. We do have a cooling system for the battery. We also have power steering fluid. The cooling system for the battery is a little bit low right now, so we will probably throw a little bit of fluid in there in the next couple of days just to make sure that we're good and cool, although it's not going to overheat anytime soon. And the power steering fluid is fine. So we're all good there. That is it. That's it for maintenance things that you would have to do. While we're in the Frunk though, we do have some outlets. We've got the 4 110 outlets, a USB-C and a USB-A that you can use to charge right here. And we have a safety switch here to get out in case somebody does happen to get trapped inside of there. And we have a light switch right there, which doesn't do much in the middle of the day, but trust me, the light turned off and on as we did that. There's also several tie-down points inside of here. You can see these guys, some hooks right here. I don't think I've ever used any of these tie downs in here, but they are available if you wanted to use them. All right, the center console obviously is where a lot of things happen. All right, I got to stop myself here. I got a little too carried away. I was thinking, hey, I'll do a review of the entire truck and I'll cover the interior of the truck and I'll talk about the dashboard and the infotainment system and all of these things. And there's a whole section of me climbing into the back seat of the truck and showing you how spacious it is. And I'm 6'2", and I'm a lot of pounds, and how I still fit back there and how much room I've got. And honestly, it was boring. It's a truck. It's got a bed of a truck. It's got a tailgate. It's got the giant cab. It's comfortable. That's the takeaway. So we're just going to edit all of that out. You're going to get this little bit here where I say, hey, the interior of the truck's great. It's a truck. It does truck stuff. It trucks along just fine. And we're going to skip along. I'm going to still do a little bit talking about powering my house and a little bit of the electrical system and stuff there. And then we're going to outro, and this video is almost over. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and we'll carry on from here. We'll see you in just a moment. So the onboard electrical system on this that I can use to power almost anything is incredibly convenient. And while I don't have the upgraded system that supports 240 voltage, and I haven't bothered with the using Ford system for doing a full upgrade that would allow me to automatically switch over to powering my entire house, which you can do through Ford's charger and an additional system, but it's very expensive, somewhere around 10 grand to get installed and fully set up. That said, given my relatively small house that I've got right here, I was able to simply run some extension cords off of the truck and power my fridge, power my the fan for my gas fireplace, power some lights, charging. If I had internet, I could have powered my internet and my TVs and would have been all set up. Unfortunately, the internet also happened to be out. So, maybe Starlink or some other system in the future, but we were really able to get by for a week completely on the power of just this vehicle. Using that limited amount of power, I was estimating that this would have powered the house for 10 days, given the amount of power drain that we'd gone down. So I did have it fully charged up before the storm came in, and so I was at 100%, but 100% giving me 10 days without having to have a generator run in the background, without having to fill up the gas on a generator every 8 hours, without having to come outside and start the generator and muck with it. It was just plug it in and run an extension cord into the house. Very convenient. And I think one of the really better features of this truck. It did mean I really couldn't take this truck anywhere during that time. So I did use the Jeep to commute to work during that time. And we also had my wife's car. So that would be the one balance that you got, is if you are using it to power your house during an outage, you're kind of stuck with the vehicle there. But maybe you're going, and so you don't need the power at the house because you're off driving around. But having other additional vehicles here made that not really a problem for me. So if I had to do it again, would I buy this vehicle again? Absolutely. I have no regrets. It's been a great vehicle. Very fun to drive. It's a very nice driving vehicle. It's been very reliable. There's been zero to no maintenance required on this guy for an entire year. And yeah, there's a bit of a learning curve on road trips and a little bit of range anxiety, but you know, it's just one of those things that you learn and you understand how to adapt to and completely get over it. Would I prefer a little bit more range? Yep. Would I prefer the upgraded power package? Yeah. Would I like Blue Cruise? Yeah. Do I want to pay for the higher level trims? Probably not. But as it is, I think this has been a great vehicle for me, and I plan to keep it for several more years.